Sherman, we'll stick with you. What advice or lessons learned for other peers, whether they are diocesan, whether they are public school districts, whatever? Do you have any advice for folks who are considering remote online testing?
Communication is key, and they should clear cache before before starting their test.
Diane, anything from you?
Same as we've been saying, communication to the stakeholders, all stakeholders were vital, including the high school people and the parents. But also the frequent emails were helpful. Sometimes as a testing person, I always say, you have to go through the whole testing cycle before it all makes sense. But this really had a lot of possibilities for a lot of people, because it can be used as a complete testing solution if you don't want or can't provide live practice, which to me was really key. And it did. I just want to reiterate, it worked very well for our purposes this year.
Because here's the thing is, it went well. And the issue with Proctorio as a use for remote testing, it worked well in this regard for this test. But there are a couple of issues that we anticipate, and we're going to be talking about that with our principals council meeting this afternoon as well, in terms of discussing going forward. We will probably be more, and it's going to be a big discussion, because some people would rather go back to the pencil paper, bring them in the school, or go to full remote, because the hybrid methodology would not necessarily work for many respects. So for example, one of the issues that a number of our schools, I don't think there are more than 2 schools using the same learning management system, for example, in our high school diocese. So the different platforms are different from the different schools. So one of the issues with this exam was a number of our elementary schools maybe you've got Google Chromebooks, or you've got iPads. A lot of them have iPads, and they couldn't use iPads for this exam. That was a huge factor and concern. And that would be the same concern for high schools going to remote learning with remote testing with Proctorio, is that you could not use your iPad. So for example, our school, the Chaminade, everyone has an iPad. Well, none of them will be able to use Proctorio for testing. We use Exemplify, or as another platform, but that's an in-house platform. So each school has different platforms that they're using. Or our learning management program is Canvas, and 2 other schools use Canvas, and you can do testing there. But the platform is different, because you need Wi-Fi. You need to be able to download and upload on site or within a Wi-Fi, as opposed to Exemplify. You have to download it in advance. It's secure, but then you have to upload it. It can be uploaded anytime, anywhere once it's closed down. So there's different platforms and different models being used for testing. Of course, none of them come with the security that Proctorio has. So if Proctorio could have more versatile application forms, like being able to use an iPad, that would be a big plus for people switching to it for the future for remote testing.
Right.
So that was an issue. And that's a segue to number 6 then. That's a major concern on us testing in the buildings with an online test. On the one hand, it sounds like a great idea, but if the kids have to bring their own equipment, and it's versatile and diverse, a kid can work on the laptop at home, but mom's not going to send him into my school with her laptop. Or they're using a desktop at home or a Chromebook at home, but they're not going to be able to bring it to my testing site. That's a big question and concern for the high school principals. Then also the shift is, if there were issues with the testing, you call tax. I got 25 kids sitting in my classroom taking it online, and there's an issue with whatever testing program Proctorio, whatever else you use. Well, now who does now who gets that issue? my classroom proctor who knows diddly squat about technology, my tech person that I've now had to hire to be on site to run around to all the rooms that are experiencing bandwidth issues or logging out issues or dropping issues and so forth and so on. So there were a lot of complexities of doing an online test on site that our principals are discussing and would make recommendation to you guys as to what our inclination, our diocese would be. And those were just some of the issues with regard to the proctorio and testing that were good this year because it was totally remote, as opposed to in person, or for lack of a better term, a hybrid model where they're not using proctorio or they are using proctorio and so forth. Also, the last one on that was also when you're taking a test at your own speed, at your own pace at home is very different than having 25 kids in the class. You really can't have them doing it at their own pace. You'd have to go back to the other model of a proctor saying, here's the password, or I'm going to start the exam like the old fashioned way. And then the only advantage to that then is there's a lot of disadvantage. The proctors have to be on the ball with that. I mean, it's hard enough to get proctors to administer the paper test accurately and correctly. To do it electronically is a huge step forward. And the advantage is then the grading is immediate.